Back in the fall, we buried a whole bunch of tree seeds in containers in our chicken yard, basically to cold stratify tree seeds for our nursery. I explained in detail what we were doing there, so I'll link to that video here. But now it's the spring, it's time to start digging in and seeing how the winter treated these seeds. Are they viable? Is it time to plant them? What's going on there? So stick around, we'll share some notes. We'll start digging in and seeing how these have worked out. I started digging into this area the other day. I dug out some Osage orange seed crates, some Nanking cherry, and some European pears. We'll take a look at those in a moment. But you can see here's another folding crate that has the ability for moisture to flow through the top and the bottom. The hens are very, very eager to help us explore and see what's going on. Consider this a very grimy unboxing video. I'll have to figure out what the plants are that are inside. Okay, so this one, look at all the worms in there. The hens will get most of those. This is a variety of sunchokes that we wanted to protect from voles. This we actually got from Edgewood Nursery, and these sunchokes overwintered just fine. I would expect they would anyway. They need to find their homes pretty darn fast. But I'm gonna close this up for now so the hens don't start eating the sunchokes, and we'll go on from there.
Hey, careful for those worms.
Let's be careful so then the hens can destroy them.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Here's the next crate in. And it really is a neat opportunity to have the hens get engaged and get a whole lot of food. And there's some real appreciation to be had for how much ecosystem service. There's just a lot of life surrounding these containers. Oh, chestnuts. Yeah, we needed these. Somebody's coming by to pick up chestnut seed today. These are really waking up, quite pale. Definitely ready to grow. We'll have to do another video talking about dealing with seeds that have sprouted. We manage a whole lot of seeds that are of this type, but this is really nice to see. This is from visiting our dear friend Eric in the Hudson Valley, New York. Hey Eric, these are the seeds we collected back in the fall. They're sprouted, they're alive, they're really viable. They need to move on from here. That'll be another video, but it's nice to see them here. In the fall, when we buried these crates, we tried to do them in the order, to the best of our ability, the order in which the plants, the seeds would be waking up. And so the very first ones that we dug out the other day were Nanking cherries and apricots. They wake up super, super early. They have to get managed sometimes before the ground is even workable. It's amazing how early they wake up. And then we've been moving now into the pears. There's some apples, there were chestnuts. It'll then move into hazelnuts and hickory and some acorns. And then the farthest end are crates of Paw Paws. I'm actually particularly interested to see if they survive the winter because someone's coming today who'd like some of those seeds. So I'm gonna skip the line for a moment and hop into the Paw Paw Bay and see what's going on.
They're all following you.
These hens are on the verge of helpful. They're certainly inquisitive, and as slow as I have to work to not poke them, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's pretty neat to have these friends hanging out, wanting to see what's going on in these seed crates just as much as I do. Let's see if I can get in there. I can feel it. Now the Paw Paws don't love to freeze in the winter, so they were buried particularly deep down in here. Lots of earthworm life. We've got leaf bags and wood chips and compost that were dumped on here all fall. Trying to be careful not to create a hot compost pile, but warm enough to keep things from freezing all the way down below. There's the edge. If memory serves, this should be one of 3 crates of Paw Paws. Ooh. Now, we've got a scene. But I will say, so surface mold, this is important to say. Just because you see mold where you're storing tree seeds does not mean they're dead. A lot of times the mold will form on the outside and maybe some of the seeds will be rotten. But as I come into here, I feel like, ooh, very exciting. So it's not 100% guarantee, but when Paw Paw seeds, if they did get really damaged during the winter, they would be pretty soft by now. I'd be able to squeeze them and express fluid. In other words, the germ inside the actual viable part of the seed will have broken down over winter and they'd be gooey. These feel very dark. They feel very firm.
They feel dark.
They feel dark and firm. They feel dark, they look firm. And
I like.
it's a beautiful scene in here too. We just pack the Paw Paws in. We wash the pulp a little bit, but we don't get intense about it. And this way we can add red wigglers and sawdust and wood chips. And by the spring, the red wigglers will have eaten all the pulp, made lots of worm castings. I feel like we've got a future of a lot more Paw Paws this year. That's very, very exciting. So that was neat. This is the first time we've really tried burying them in wood chips and sawdust that way. You can see some of these still have the fruit around them, all rotten, and there's a worm working their way through it. So even if we get slightly lower germination rate, we do have around 3,000 or 4,000 seeds between these few crates. So even 20% germination would keep us pretty busy with Paw Paw management this year. Some really beautiful side things here. These are slug eggs. That's really beautiful. Look at that. It's like little caviar of the earth. They'll wake up, they'll do their work. Maybe they'll eat some of the Paw Paw shoots that come up in the spring, but generally it seems like they don't really eat plants that are super actively growing and viable and healthy. Maybe the chickens will eat the caviar before they turn into slugs and snails. There's millipedes and centipedes in here. I think the takeaway is that there's a real invitation for life to be in association with these seeds as they rest for the winter. And I feel like that confers a whole lot of extra vitality to them. I know you can't really read this, but it has a little nursery pen on here. This is like a legend of what's in this row. This is for Japanese walnut, 2 hazelnut, and 1 Carpathian walnut, which should mean that we've got a crate of Japanese walnut here, 2 hazelnuts in the middle, and 1 Carpathian on the end. I'm interested in seeing how the hazelnuts did, so I'm gonna start digging right around here and see if I can't find a crate. The hidden treasure of seeds. Well, there's a crate. Now, this is gonna be interesting because this crate feels like it got crushed a little. Oh boy. Should make smaller crates. So, if there were voles that burrowed through here this winter, my gosh, that's some worms. Wow. Probably from walking on this or maybe the weight of compost, but I would not be surprised if all the hazelnuts are gone. And they are. So this is all vole activity. These are tunnels, and this is basically what unprotected tree seeds look like after a winter. There may have been, I don't know, 1,000 or more hazelnuts.
There's still.
Yep, there's still some. This is what I would have hoped to see through the whole crate. Waking up at a nice, ready to get planted out. This is a really great reminder how especially nut tree seeds and nut shrub seeds, hazelnut, chestnut, hickory, any of those, walnuts, if you do not absolutely protect from the rodentia crew in the winter, you lose almost all of them every time. So seeing this lid being crushed in, I must have stepped on it at some point during the winter. It made a 1/2 inch of space, and that's all that was necessary. The voles probably lived in here all winter. But this is just par for the course. I didn't protect these seeds well enough. They got eaten. That's part of the reason why we have more crates. Hopefully the next one will have hazelnut seed that we can plant. Oh boy. Now, I just have a good feeling that the voles got to really enjoy one. And we'll still scrounge through there and see what kind of seed we can find. I'll tell you, the real winner for the winter were the red wigglers. Just a compost factory while these tree seeds were being stored. Okay, fingers crossed. There we are. Hazelnut, this is what I'd hope for. Everyone is intact. This is, you can see we leave them in the burrs. We don't try to clean the outer coat off, because now in the spring we can either plant this whole group and have a cluster of 4 or 5 hazelnuts come up together and be a little small, or when we go to plant we can break these off just a little. But this looks very intact and ready to go. You can see the sprouts all popping through here. So we'll have to be careful with these. We have to move on them pretty soon. But there's probably a good 500, 600 or more hazelnuts in here, all waking up, all ready to go. We're gonna get a freeze tonight and tomorrow night, so these crates will move into the garage, and then we'll reassess them and figure out what's going on for next steps. The Paw Paws, we'll talk about that in another video. We're gonna move those crates to a high tunnel so they can warm up and pre-sprout. The hazelnuts will get moved into air prune boxes pretty darn soon. Same thing with these chestnuts. But for the next half hour or so, we'll just leave this whole scene as it is so the hens can have a really fine time. The mulch is so deep that yes, they're gonna be eating tons of red wigglers for a little while, but the population won't be decimated. They'll be able to migrate into some of the other boxes, but what a joy to see how much life can be teeming around the storage of potential tree seeds for the future. Just on the north side of the garage, we have some crates that are, I wouldn't call them a failure, but I'd call them really challenging. There's this one. This is all rotten pears that we found from a tree that had really delicious pears we found in the fall next to a Mexican restaurant. We call them Euro pear. And you can see they sprouted way too early in there and were incredibly pale and yellow. They're on the north side of the garage so they can get very diffuse, very gentle light and slowly ease into photosynthesizing. May or may not survive. They definitely have to come inside tonight when it freezes. So there's fragility in this system. If you don't catch the sprouts early enough, we may be able to help them survive. We'll see. Don't mind the mess of the garage, but you can see the same picture here. This is about a week later. It's a crate of Nanking cherries that we found that were the same style. They were incredibly pale, almost white. Then they turned yellow, then they turned green. Now they're getting a little bit of light in the early part of the morning in the protection of the garage. Still with these white stems, so we have to be very careful when we go to transplant them. It's all challenging, but very doable. And 1 week before then, we got these crates out, and this is Nanking cherry fully eased into the realities of spring with nice sawdust mulch sifted around them. These are actually ready to be transplanted out, and we've been doing that. We can hook a finger under them. Normally I do this a little bit more carefully, but we can prune that root just a little, plant them in the garden, and mulch them right up to here. These may very well become 3 foot to 4 foot tall trees by the fall if we play our cards right. So even when we screw up on getting the timing of accessing the crates, we can still help the plants survive. We may very well have a few thousand Brianna apricots for the fall as well. All remains to be seen. Very long video about boxes of seeds. Hopefully for some folks that was compelling to see. Let me know if you have questions and let's share notes. Thanks for watching.